Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Sandy Laycox, editor-in-chief of Leader's Edge. In this special episode, you will hear from the Leader's Edge art team as they dissect work created by AI art generator Dall-E. In brainstorming ideas for our October cover story on AI, I noticed the team was highly critical of the art produced by an AI tool versus a human. So we decided to conduct an experiment. We gave the same exact instructions to a human illustrator and the AI art generator tool, then compared the results and chose one for our October cover. This conversation is our post-mortem on the process. I hope you enjoy this deviation from the norm, brought to you by AI and our Leader's Edge art team.
Well, what to me was interesting was it was the first time for all of us, and we all sort of trying to figure out the rules of the road for, interacting with what is just an algorithm and then a person and a physical person illustrating. What did we learn from that? I mean, I think you have to be very explicit with the AI information in terms of style and content. You can't, you have to be very exacting in what you learn. But I mean, I was on the periphery. Brad and Sandy, you can speak better to that.
Well, I have a question for you all, sort of on that, because when we initially started talking about it a few months ago, everybody was pretty critical about the AI produced art, that it didn't have a lot of depth and that kind of thing. So I'm really curious to know what you all think about what it produced this time. And we gave it, a specific prompt. It was maybe 2 sentences, Brad, I think.
Yeah, it was like a paragraph. It was. I thought it was going to be too much information because it was a fairly lengthy lengthy 2 or 3 sentences. But it did seem to produce interesting results with all that information. I didn't feel like I still feel like the AI generated art has a long way to go. I felt like it kind of gave us it felt like clip art, stock art. It didn't seem to have a lot of depth. Whereas the illustration seemed to hit. I mean, all those elements in the illustration were thought out and were carefully crafted to relate to the topic. It's obviously the illustrator read the article and was able to respond to it in a very creative, thoughtful way. And I felt like the illustration was nowhere near that. Now that's where we are with ChatGPT or that's where we are with AI generated art right now. Who knows where we're going to be 5 years from now? You might be able to send the whole article to an AI like 5 years from now, and the AI will read the article and generate something close to what the illustrator came up with.
To me, what the results ended up being, the sketches that AI produced, you gave it very detailed. They seemed like the sketches you'd see in a college illustration 101 course. They seemed very cliched and sort of basic. I mean, they were nicely done. I mean, the 2 faces in silhouette, it was very graphic style, but that an illustrator, whoever's worth his weight in gold would be, cringe. It was sort of cringeworthy, those initial sketches. They would be like, I would never show that. So an illustrator goes and we all as designers sort of go through this self editing process where we eliminate a lot of really, the basic, cliched, mundane ideas first, and then show something that's unique. And so making that leap to the next to the next group of ideas is the hard thing to do, I think. I mean, how would you tell it to say, don't show me any cliches? Like, would it know like what a cliche is or what?
I mean, to me, it lacked. Well, my biggest thing that I think that the difference was is that it's just flat. It lacked concept. There was no brain involved that could really round out an idea and think about it and think about it the way a human would see it, instead of just taking your taking the words in the two sentences and just creating something. But it is funny that they're, in spite of their very obvious differences, that they're heads. They're all two heads, which is kind of weird. I was surprised.
That's a really good point, actually, about they both initially went to the same place, right? The illustrator and the tool. And it is important to note that, because usually we would give the illustrator an entire article to read, right? And give them a lot of direction. But in this case, we didn't. We just gave them the same exact sentences that we gave to the tool and no direction, and said, so, but they both kind of started from the same place, but the illustrator was more fully able to develop his concept versus the tool.
His is much simpler. There's much less involved. He's not trying to have every kind of thing you could think of.
Coming up with that totally different idea where, we were getting a lot of two heads with Dall-E, but I actually really did like the box too. I think the box just felt the color. I mean, that it just didn't feel as vibrant as the black and the white heads.
I think that the big difference is in developing illustration, having done this with many illustrators over the years, is the cycle of criticism and refinement that you get with an illustrator. They'll show you basic ideas and you're like, oh, that's not right for our audience, or it won't play well, or even like there's design reasons. There's, oh, we need it to come in from the top, not the bottom. And all those, there's just this subtlety and refinement that just doesn't get implemented yet. I mean, maybe there's a way to do it if you talk to an AI expert. But to me, for the bigger picture, that's scary that, you would hope that people developing AI beyond, our little art project there'd be, I'm sure there is rigorous testing and criticism of what's produced. But I think that's the takeaway, that there needs to be a human behind the output after a while.
I felt that it lost the conceptual part of it to, and I think this has been said before, but it felt like all of the iterations from Dall-E were pretty much on the same, kind of just taking it and kind of just showing it in different variations, different styles. We strive in the creative meetings to really not be obvious, and to Raeanne's common phrase, not be see and say, really try to push the boundaries on stuff. And I feel like that's what the illustrator really did. They took something and made it more conceptual, whereas the Dall-E was pretty much, they took the words and they translated that to just basic, like the illustrations you would expect. I don't know. That's kind of how I saw it. And maybe with as time goes on, it will get smarter and smarter and go beyond and get a little more conceptual, but it was just not there yet.
So do we do another one a year from now and see what happens?
Right. We could.
That was the Leaders Edge art team discussing the use of AI for graphic design. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. For more Leaders Edge podcasts, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud.